Two very different men wake up in a dingy bathroom, chained to the floor with saws at their feet. There is a tape. The tape informs them that they want to play a game. How do they get out of here? What is going on? And how do they play this game? That's right. This week we're going to take on the horror classic Saw. And if you stick around to the end of the podcast, you'll be treated to an excerpt from an interview I did with director Darren Lynn Bousman, who did several of the Saw sequels, where he talks about the film and some of the traps. So be sure to stick around for that, and you can find the whole interview at thehollywoodoutsiders.com. But right now, I want to play a game. And since it's almost Halloween, you know what that means. It's time to remake Saw right. Hello, my fellow cinematic architects, and welcome to Remake This Movie Right. We are a member of the Hollywood Outsider Network. Listen to episodes of Remake This Movie Right on iTunes, where reviews are appreciated, your podcast app of choice, or just visit the website at remakethismovieright.com. Remake This Movie Right is a show where we take an original film that has an actual remake in the works, figure out what still clicks and what doesn't, throw a little bit of humor at it, and then we try to determine exactly how Hollywood should remake it. So by the end of each episode, this episode, we will have the remake ready to roll for Hollywood execs and presented to you in movie trailer form. We're here to tell Hollywood how to remake this movie right. I am worried about this one because it's a very, very hard one, but we are going to tackle it regardless. My name is Aaron Peterson. I'll be your host, and joining me today, you remember him from our Green Lantern, Spider-Man, and our Friday the 13th episodes, Zack Parkerson.
Hey, Aaron. Thanks for having me again. Just to quickly preface it, there is a Saw comic book, so the streak is intact.
Good call. I did not know that, but you can speak to that and the video game, I'm sure, if you choose. You remember her from Clue, Ferris Bueller, and our Blade episodes, Amanda Sink.
Hello, hello.
And this week, this time, this episode, because every Halloween we like to bring out a couple horror episodes, horror-focused episodes. And this year, Saw. If it's Halloween, it must be Saw. Wasn't that the catchphrase or the tagline for 7 years, roughly?
It was 7 years, yeah.
I think it was only the tagline for like 5 and 6, 7.
Why don't you stop ruining the magic?
So like
that
the
I put
not
together.
so good ones.
Yeah.
7 was great.
Now let me ask you, when we were talking about this and we were putting an episode together, because we were trying to figure out what horror movie should we tackle, which one? And they have a new movie, and we are going to talk about that a little later, about the new movie that's coming out. But first, we always talk about the original. For Zach, for you, this was an untouchable Saw was an untouchable franchise. You felt there is no need to do anything with a remake for that. Why is that?
Saw is an untouchable film. The franchise can be hit or miss, but the first Saw movie is one of my favorite movies. So the idea of them touching it it's disheartening.
Now, why is it? Just because of the twist, the idea of it, the concept of it, how it was put together, what?
Yeah, the concept really struck a chord with me, having two people caught in a room, especially with Adam knowing Dr. Gordon, so he's extra on edge, and then them learning about each other, and then the twist, is incredible, and that song they use during the twist is great, and it was just fun. I hadn't seen anything quite like it before. Or
since. For people that haven't seen it or haven't seen it in a while, I'm going to explain it a little bit. The original film was written by Lee Whannell, I hope I said that right, and was directed by Conjuring director James Wan. That's right, James Wan, the guy who has done some fantastic work in horror. He's done Insidious and Conjuring 1 and 2, and he did Furious 7. He did that as well. Now he's doing Aquaman, right? So he went from Saw to Aquaman.
That'll be scary.
Yeah, it'll be terrifying. And it revolved around a twisted serial killer who locks two strangers in a bathroom together. Two men who come to realize they're pawns in a sick game orchestrated by the Jigsaw killer. Now, there's a body on the floor separating them, apparently dead, and he holds a micro-cassette recorder and a gun. And they each have their own tape. Adam's tape urges him to escape the bathroom, while Lawrence's tape tells him to kill Adam by 6 o'clock or his wife and daughter will be killed. They also both have saws to deal with. They can do whatever they want with them, apparently.
Except for getting the chains cut.
Yeah, they can't. It's not good enough to cut a chain. It's good enough to cut a foot, I hear, but not a chain. It's come to find out everybody is connected. Adam was following Lawrence. Lawrence's family is being held hostage by an orderly named Zepp. Danny Glover thinks Lawrence is Jigsaw. Lawrence shoots his or saws his foot off. I'm sorry, doesn't shoot his foot off. He saws it off and escapes, which is one of the most horrific moments on film I've ever seen, probably.
It's pretty brutal.
It's pretty brutal. Zepp comes in to kill Lawrence and basically gets shot by Adam. And then John Kramer rises from the floor and leaves Adam to die with the old game over. Game over, man. That's the intense twist. And I did want to bring, just to explain John Kramer, because I've talked to people when I was prepping for this episode and, researching it and everything. And I asked them, what do you remember most about Saw? The Jigsaw Killer. All right. Well, what do you remember about him? Well, he's a puppet. I swear to God. I heard that from at least 3 people. I'm like, John, you don't remember the actual character? A lot of them don't remember Tobin Bell as the actual character because they were too focused on the traps and the death and dismay that was going on. So I did want to reiterate a little bit what John Kramer was. He was known as Jigsaw, and he's a former civil engineer who was dying from an inoperable frontal lobe tumor that had developed from colon cancer. And Zach, you correct me if I'm wrong about anything.
That's all. That all pans out.
Okay. After he failed to commit suicide, he attempted suicide and failed. He decides to dedicate the rest of his life to testing others and their will to live. So he puts them through games or tests in which they are forced to inflict pain upon themselves or others in order to escape. So if they want to embrace life, if they want to continue with life, they have to be willing to sacrifice either themselves or others. These games represent what Jigsaw saw as a flaw in each person's moral character. The Jigsaw name was given to him by the media because he would cut a little puzzle piece shape of flesh from those who fail, which are pretty much most of them.
Majority.
Yep, majority of them pretty much fail.
Not Amanda.
No, Amanda didn't. She made it.
Different one, not me.
Not you, because you would totally...
I would be gone.
Yep, you just give up. Okay, well, this film led into one of the most successful horror franchises in history, as the Jigsaw Killer played many games over many films. Even after he's dead, he's still apparently playing games. So
there are more movies with him dead than there aren't.
Which is a fantastic fact. It's true.
It's definitely true.
Can you tell me, Zach, because honestly, I stopped at 3 or 4. The one where he died, I think, is the last. I stopped at that because it kind of got a little more. So who continues his legacy? I think maybe I stopped at 4.
It gets twisted in the 7th one.
Well, don't tell me that twist, because I do eventually want to watch that one.
Well, then you probably don't want to know who continues the legacy.
Well, I do for the 5 and 6.
Okay.
Yeah, he has several apprentices. He's got this actor by the name, I don't even remember the character's name, but the actor's name is Costas Mandalore, which is always a cool name.
Yeah, it is.
He was a cop, and he's also an apprentice, and his wife kind of helps out with his will. It's a whole... He's played the long game, this Jigsaw Killer. He's got it all planned out 10 years in advance.
Good for him.
He actually sends out a tape in one of the movies after he's dead, and he's like, if you're listening to this, that means that I'm gone, but it's not over. Don't think this is over, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, he sealed it in wax and swallowed it.
Which what you would, of course, think to do. Sure.
Naturally.
Yeah.
It's the only option.
He knew Jeff was coming to the room, and he knew there was a 50-50 shot on whether or not Jeff would move on or whether or not he would buzzsaw his neck wide open. So either way.
All right, so let's talk about the original movie and the original franchise. Why did this stick out for you? We've heard a little bit from Zach. Mando, when you think back to this film, do you remember the first time you saw the original movie? Yeah,
it wasn't that long ago. It was back in 2004 that the movie came out. So I saw the first 2 or 3 in theaters, and then the last one, which had, I believe it was the last one that had Sean Patrick Flannery in it.
Oh, you saw that because you're a Boondock Saints
fan?
fan?
Yeah, absolutely. Favorite movie. So when I first saw the first one, it's now looking back at it, it's a gritty looking. It's kind of grainy.
Mm-hmm.
But it was interesting that he wasn't just torturing people. He wasn't just trying to get some sadistic pleasure from it. He was trying to get people to appreciate their lives, people who weren't appreciating their lives, that were bad people. So it has kind of that Dexter feel to it, where it's only the people who kind of deserve it, really, because he doesn't want any innocent people to die. And he kind of roots for these people to live. He wants them to bleed out and still survive, bleed as much as possible.
Suffer.
And so that way they appreciate their life like Amanda did. But I think it was that, and then also the traps were really interesting. I don't know when he decided to become like some sort of an engineer and create all of these masterpieces, because they're really, some of them are really intricate. But it was the combination of the two of them. I think most people really liked seeing a lot of blood and people dying, but I liked in the beginning how the story was going. That was pretty critical to me. Before
it became a masterpiece of a theme park that he put together?
Well, it started to, from what I remember, it started to deviate from, because of one of the apprentices. Correct me if I'm wrong, Zach, but he kind of started to twist things where he didn't exactly care about who got in the way of being innocents if they lived or died.
Amanda also didn't follow the game
entirely, didn't she?
Yeah, as often as she should have.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the cop guy, who I cannot remember the name of for the life of me, he copycatted Jigsaw and made it look like, and he killed some crook with a pendulum swinging thing.
We can just call it a pendulum, probably.
It was a pendulum axe. But made it look like it was a Jigsaw game, but there was no win state. So then he kind of became an apprentice, and more often than not had a win state in his games.
What about this really stood out for you? Why is this such an important franchise for you? I mean, I get that the movies weren't always, it was hit or miss, but you love this franchise. Why do you love it so much?
It became an annual thing for me, my brothers and my cousin, to all go down to the theater every October and see Saw. So just by virtue of rewatching them over and over again every year, getting ready for the new one, I just became enveloped in this ridiculous mythology about the Jigsaw Killer and his apprentices and the traps and everyone learning to appreciate their life via Jigsaw's moral code.
Which is, it was just pretty sadistic.
Hey, look, man, you got to step up. You got to earn that life.
I suppose.
Survival is earned.
Yeah, I remember when this came out, I think it had played at festivals or something, so nobody knew anything about the movie, except two guys were locked in a bathroom. 'Cause that was really the selling point. It was the pitch, if you would. It was two guys locked in a bathroom. They're chained, and they have to figure out what is this game that's being played. And the first movie was not torture porn. I know a lot of people look to Saw as the foundation of the torture porn genre, like where it all started. And I get it, but I only get it from the second movie on. Outside of like sawing the leg off, it's not really torture porn. It's more of like a thriller.
I mean, the leg mostly happens off screen.
Yeah, it does. It's just disturbing to see his carry
his will for his family to live.
Yeah, carry. I was like, Elways or we're gonna go with Elways.
Carrie Elways.
Yeah, that's what I'm going with.
Guest star of Psych.
Exactly. Or Robin Hood, Men in Tights. That was a great movie. He's a really underappreciated actor. And also Princess Bride. I know somebody's going to get mad that wasn't the first thing we said, so I got to throw it out there. But anyway, so it's mostly just his acting that makes it so horrific. And I really love that first movie. When it first came out, and I was just going in with the idea, the concept, I thought, wow, that's pretty good. It's got Danny Glover in it. It's got Carrie Elways in it. It's got to be decent. So I watch it, and then it unfolds, and you get that twist where the guy just gets up off the floor, and I'm like, oh, he was there the whole time? Now, keep in mind, hindsight, you go back and watch it going, I mean, wouldn't he be breathing at some point? Doesn't he have to pee? I mean, what's the...
It wasn't it like an injection or something that made him unconscious during that time to where he was, I mean, obviously maybe he snores, or obviously he doesn't, but I think, doesn't he do something to that effect to actually knock him out through all of that so it appears as though he's not alive?
I assumed he had taken the opiate overdose he gave to the guy Amanda chopped up for the duration of the game.
And he just calmly woke up from that?
It was probably like it only lasts for so long.
Well, no, I get that, but I'm like, you'd think at some point...
He roars into the air like a wolf. He didn't exactly just get up.
It's true. That's
the
true.
Adam actor, Lee, whatever his last name is...
Winnell.
He wasn't as impressive.
Well, he was also a novice. I mean, he's really a writer by trade, and this was his big break. So he's not really an actor, or he hadn't had much experience as an actor before that. You got to give him cut some slack. Poor guy. It's an independent movie.
I just mean in comparison.
He had a couple of decent lines.
Well, he wrote them, so I hope so.
So he gave himself the good ones.
Well, wouldn't you?
Okay, if you cover yourself in peanut butter.
Yeah. All right, well, we're going to get into some trivia and some other stuff on the original, but before we do that, we're going to let you hear a clip from the original Saw. Remember, if you have your own pitch or thoughts on this week's show, you can email them to remakethismovieright@gmail.com. That's remakethismovieright@gmail.com. Here's a clip from the original Saw.
Rise and shine, Adam. You're probably wondering where you are. I'll tell you where you might be. You might be in the room that you die in. Up until now, you've simply sat in the shadows, watching others live out their lives. But what do voyeurs see when they look into the mirror? Now I see you as a strange mix of someone angry yet apathetic, but mostly just pathetic. So are you going to watch yourself die today, Adam? Or do something about it?
I don't get it.
Okay, now we're going to do some trivia on the Saw movie. Director James Wan took a gamble and took no upfront salary for this movie and opted for a percentage instead. I would say that was a good call.
Did he get it on the whole franchise?
I don't know about that because they weren't originally making a franchise. They were originally going to do like just the one, and then Darren Lynn Bousman came in and did the sequel based on his story and went from there.
Right.
Yeah, well, he wanted the camera movements to reflect the two main characters' emotions and personalities. So he filmed Dr. Gordon with steady, controlled shots and Adam as handheld shots to capture their emotions of the situation. I never noticed that until I rewatched it just last night. And I'm like, wow, that's true. He really did do that. So it works, too, quite a bit. Mm-hmm. The car chase was filmed in the garage of the warehouse by turning off the lights, adding some fog, and shaking the cars while filming from the front. Old school.
Yep.
Interesting. Good.
I did
in
not
2004,
know that.
I mean, that's still, it's interesting that they're not using advancements at that point.
Well, I don't even think they left the studio, right? I mean, they filmed the entire thing in a warehouse, I think.
Mm-hmm. I don't think they could have afforded a car chase.
Yeah, they had $45, basically. The screenplay was written in 2001 as a calling card for James Wan and Lee Winnell trying to break into Hollywood. They shot a low-budget short based on a scene in the film, and this proved successful enough to attract the attention of Evolution Entertainment. They immediately formed a horror genre arm called Twisted Pictures and gave Wan and Winnell a small budget to make this movie. There are a lot of references to Dario Argento in the movie. The puppet itself is actually a reference to Argento's Deep Red from 1975. While the unseen killer's black gloves are one of Argento's trademarks, and you can see that in most of his films, which I knew that one because my brother is a huge Argento fan. Writer Lee Winnell came up with the idea of giving John Kramer a brain tumor while spending time in a neurology ward for anxiety and headaches. He says that seeing patients there made him reflect on his own mortality.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I like that.
Finally, I've got one that made you guys go, interesting.
Mm-hmm.
All right, just a couple
Anytime
more.
you bring mental health into it or something,
There
I'm
you
gonna listen.
The identity of the Jigsaw killer is given away quite early on in a flashback when Zepp says he's a very interesting person. On John's hospital bedside table in front of him is a diagram of the reverse bear trap.
Why would he bring that with him to the hospital?
He's got to prepare. He's probably doing some research.
Well, you think someone would have noticed that?
You'd think we would have noticed that, but we didn't. So
I actually, someone's bringing him a glass of water, right, and just sees a giant blueprint of a death trap. You're gonna give it away.
What's going on with this guy?
I'm not going to question it if he's got a death trap there. I'm not going to question what's going on because I don't want to be involved in that.
Like, here's your Jell-O, sir. Thank you.
Have a nice day. Let the next nurse know if you need ice chips.
I don't know if this is true, but it sounds good enough. The film was inspired by the end scene of Mad Max when Max handcuffs Johnny the boy to a car and gives him a saw. He tells Johnny how long it will take to cut his foot off before the car explodes.
I swear I remember hearing that on the director's commentary.
Well, then it's probably true.
Yeah.
Seems true.
I think.
IMDb said it was true.
It must be true if it's on
Internet Movie
IMDb.
Database says it.
Absolutely. Okay, and I do want to actually mention I had an exclusive interview with Darren Lynn Bousman, who directed several Saw sequels, which you will hear some portions of at the end of this episode. So once we're all done, stick around for the end, and you will hear an interview with Darren Lynn Bousman.
He's great to listen to.
Yep. All right. So we talked a little bit about what makes this movie so notable. My personal opinion, the concept is great. What did you guys think about the idea of flawed people being given the chance for redemption, but only if they do something horrible? Was it reasonable or ridiculous?
Well, for me, I love the concept because it's the same. It's not the same premise as Dexter, but in hindsight, it kind of is.
Does he ever give anyone a chance to live?
Well, not necessarily, but he is only hurting the people who deserve it. And that's where that reference will come in for.
You're big on this Dexter thing, huh?
Mm-hmm.
I am. I'm big on this concept, actually, where somebody is sadistic and they're twisted, but they're not doing it to innocent people. They're not actually trying to hurt people who don't deserve it. They're trying to hurt people who, suck. So,
well, I would argue that because, Adam, is he really that bad a person? He just spies on people. Does he deserve to die for that?
Well, hopefully he just doesn't get shot and die.
Well, he got locked in the bathroom to die, chained. If
he wouldn't have pulled the tub drain, he would have had his key.
Well, God forbid he save his own life and
Idiot.
not drown. Zach, do you get what I'm saying? Did Adam deserve to die?
In Saw 3, Amanda is the one who put the chain key on Adam and didn't fasten his shirt button like she was supposed to, and that's why it went down the drain.
Oh, really? I forgot about that. Look at you, expert. Maybe in the comic book, does it clarify that too?
The comic book has actually been rendered non-canon by the events of the later films, so...
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, it was Jigsaw's origin, as I recall.
So, what do you think? Do you think Adam deserved to die?
I think he played into Gordon's test as well, so I think he may have stretched Adam's need to die.
How so? How would you say that?
I don't think snooping on people is worth being killed for. No, but I think
he needed him for it.
I think Jigsaw may have been a little vindictive on the Lawrence Gordon just because he was one who so callously delivered the news and all that stuff that he may have been willing to stretch whether or not Adam needed to die because Adam was so connected to Gordon.
Yeah, and the thing with Gordon as well, I don't really consider him as deserving to die. And
well, just wait.
Because he was callous? Well, I haven't seen the fourth
just watch the
one.
rest
I've
of
heard I've heard he's come. Shh. Okay.
So he didn't appreciate his family.
Yeah, well,
he doesn't appreciate anything.
He's a doctor.
He does. Look, man, if you're gonna go
Patrick Dempsey
to the
appreciates
hospital
people.
and try to bang one of your students, and you got a hot wife at home, you know what, man? Off him. Should have just put one in him.
That seems really extreme, but okay.
Look, man, we'll agree to disagree.
Now the end. Does the end work for you in hindsight? Now that it was amazing the first time you see it, but in hindsight, when you think about all the times he should have peed himself, does it still?
How do you know he didn't pee himself?
I don't. He was laying in a pool of blood. Maybe there's some urine samples in there too. I don't know. That's really the one thing for me where when I reflect on it, that's a great ending, but it's not Kaiser Soze so much because I can find some holes in it.
I think even with the holes in it, being that it was such an introductory movie for these two, for the director, for James Wan, and for Lee, I can't remember what his last name.
We're going with 1L.
Okay, sure.
If it's wrong, he can write us.
Okay, but I think for it being something so initial and introductory for them, I think it's still they can have like a little pass on it.
All right.
It's still, when you look at it, you're just like, wow, that's awesome. That's really cool. I did not expect that because you expect him to just be a dead body hanging out there. And then the second one even gets more interesting.
But if Spielberg had done it, you'd be like, no, he should have peed. That's what you're going
He's got experience. He should have peed.
I feel sometimes cool can overwrite sense.
Absolutely. And this one does trump it, yeah.
And every time I see that twist, I get giddy, even
Plus,
after the 30th time.
They have so many other like really, really intricate details throughout the film that it's like something that minor can kind of be overlooked because they've put so much work and effort into other pieces in the
I do agree. The plot is a puzzle because I was really, the first time I saw it, wondering how this is all going to come together. And it does work. Mm-hmm. And it works pretty well. And there's a lot of great actors in it that, Michael Emerson played Zepp, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you got Danny Glover, and you've got Monica Potter. There's just a lot of good actors in here, and before they became good actors.
Ken Leung as Detective Singh, also from Lost.
Yep. Apparently they pulled the cast from Lost from the Saw movie.
That's another thing. If you do that comparison to Lost is a series where it drew out.
We're not comparing it to Lost.
No, I'm just saying. I'm thinking.
I don't remember Jack Shepherd sawing anything off.
No, but they this works just like Lost worked. Lost worked because it had its plot and it got really complicated and it drew over time and it kept the audience involved. And at the end, you were just kind of like, whoa, what the hell, or whatever. Same thing happens with Saw. You have your initial hook with the first one, and even though they didn't intend on having the other ones, it drew the audience in just like Lost did by being complicated and drawing out their story.
Does the movie still hold up for you guys? I mean, is there anything that doesn't work for you anymore rewatching it?
It just needs some
untouchable.
Updating. Oh my goodness.
So you're saying no, everything's perfect.
No, there's no. It's so good. Anyone could watch that any year. It's gonna still be perfect. There's no need.
So Zach, should this movie be remade or should it be placed in don't touch status?
No, lock it in a vault.
Why are you here?
Because he's gonna find a way around it. He's gonna find a way. He's gonna fight through it. That's what he's gonna do.
You think that you're better than them.
You're
gonna be more creative.
He's got better ideas.
I just want to play a game.
I think he wants to protect the integrity of a franchise.
I just come in here to shoot down all your guys' ideas until we run out of the clock. And you're like, well, I guess we have to wrap up the episode, don't we?
Guess there's no new Saw movie coming, guys. Sorry. Amanda, do you think it can be remade or even extended, I guess?
Yeah, I think things can be updated and modernized and changed. Not that it's extremely old or anything.
Okay. Yeah, it's a horror movie. Every horror movie can be remade.
Except for Saw.
Except for Saw, according to Zach, yes.
Out of every horror film ever, Saw is the one.
I was against an Evil Dead remake, and that was fantastic. So, and that's about the only one that I would be against. Now then again, Halloween had a remake, and that was god-awful. So it can go either way.
Whew.
But it's a horror
Nightmare on
movie.
Elm Street. Oh, man.
Yeah,
that shouldn't have happened.
Most of them shouldn't.
Real potential.
Which failed. All right, now let's get into our remake that apparently Zach is just going to set out. And before we do that, let's hear another clip from the original Saw. The one that had dialogue, because the rest of them didn't. They were just people screaming.
Dr. Gordon, this is your wake-up call. Every day of your working life, you have given people the news that they're going to die soon. Now you will be the cause of death. Your aim in this game is to kill Adam. You have until 6 on the clock to do it. There's a man in the room with you. When there's that much poison in your blood, the only thing left to do is shoot yourself. There are ways to win this, hidden all around you. Just remember, X marks the spot for the treasure. If you do not kill Adam by 6, then Allison and Diana will die, Dr. Gordon. And I'll leave you in this room to rot.
Okay, here's what we know about the intended remake, or it's actually, they're doing an extension of the universe. They haven't said exactly what they're going to do, but they are going to call it Saw Legacy, and it will release October 27th, 2017. It's directed by Michael and Peter Spierig, and it will be directed or written by Josh Stolberg and Pete Goldfinger. It is the eighth installment in the Saw franchise, and apparently will be more of a sequel than a remake.
Awesome.
Good.
Are you happy with that, Zachary?
Yeah, it's good. They couldn't get Lee Winnell to come back and write the next chapter, huh?
He's busy. Doesn't he do like the Insidious movies?
Yeah, I think that's all he's busy with, yeah.
All right. Well, since it's getting another film or a remake, whatever it's getting, and fans always think that they know the best way to do it, so that's what we're going to do. How should Hollywood remake it? Now, remember, for anybody that's never listened, all selections are settled by a best of 3 vote. Whatever our ideas are, if 2 people agree on it, we take it, we move on. But each host gets 1 cut to use per episode. If they are extremely passionate about an idea or they don't like an idea that's being used, they yell cut, and we have to use their idea. Everybody understand these rules?
Yep, I feel like Zach's probably going to use this.
Yeah,
just use it. Oh, yeah, the movie stays the same.
Okay. Does anyone have an idea for how to do a new Saw?
Do you?
Mm-hmm. But
Right.
I'm giving you guys the first crack.
No, you're going to have to run your ideas past me. I am the arbiter of Saw.
Amanda?
I will let you take the lead.
All right. Well, you ready? This is how I would do it. Just it's a little in depth. Okay. So there's 3 people who are trapped in a grimy indoor hotel pool area. Okay? So 1 man, 1 woman, and 1 17-year-old boy. Think of the pool as a box. The man's on the west side, the woman's on the east side, boy's on the north side. And there's a seemingly dead body on the south side. Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Zach?
Yes.
Okay, I'm just making sure.
I'm following you.
Just make sure you didn't give up and just quit altogether.
I'm calling Lee.
Okay. They are all chained together. In the middle of the pool, at the bottom of the pool, there is a gun and 3 saws. There's enough chain to go into the pool and get those things, but not enough to leave the area. Because the south side, where the body is locked in place. There's actually, what do you call it? A hook in the pool that's locked the chain in place. So if they move to the south side, the boy drowns because the chains are too heavy for him to swim. So that can't be an alternative. And if they try any other, if the woman tries to leave, the man's going to get pulled into the pool and drown. If the man tries to leave, the woman will get pulled into the trap, etc. So I would use the same concept of Jigsaw being John Kramer and the same motives. Only the man here is told that he must kill the boy to save his family, who's being guarded. Same circumstances. While the woman is told she must protect the boy from the man to save herself. The boy is told that he can save the others if he sacrifices himself. Okay? You guys with me?
Mm-hmm,
okay.
Mm-hmm.
The woman we find out is a doctor who treated John Kramer and failed. She's also, we find out, just doing it for the money. She doesn't really care about the patient so much as she cares about the money. The man is a known abuser of his own children, which is why he sets up to shoot the boy, because he's angry towards kids and da-da-da-da. But he's a successful attorney and nobody will touch him. Nobody will touch him. So as the movie reels on, everybody watching will assume that John Kramer will come alive at the end because the body's at the end and it's very similar to the first Saw, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But the reveal in my movie is that as the clock strikes 6, because I would still use that 6 o'clock thing, you must kill the boy by 6 o'clock. The woman shoots the man to save the boy, then saws her foot off to escape because she finally finds something life is worth living and something's more important than money or whatever. And the boy rises, unshackles himself, and it's revealed that John Kramer, his father, has already died because of her failure, the woman's failure to treat him the way that he should have been treated because he didn't have the money or insurance to do so. And he is now carrying on his father's legacy.
So the 17-year-old boy's father is John Kramer.
And he's dead. He's already dead. So he's not still alive at the end of the pool. That's actually his dead body.
Interesting.
He dragged his dad's carcass to a pool?
Mm-hmm.
That's ice cold.
That actually kind of works into what I wanted. I wanted a revenge plot where it was, let's try and get back at some bitches.
That's all you need to know.
Apparently.
That'll be the tagline. Mine was to have a revenge plot, which is...
Well, what would the revenge plot be?
Well, I wanted it to be something where John Kramer's or one of his family members had a surgery or something, because I like the doctor aspect, because there's so many different other aspects that can feed into it. And having that go bad, or they contract like another disease because it wasn't done properly or something, and then he ends up dying from it. And I wanted there to be a family member that tries to live on for him, or if it was one of his family members, then he's trying to get revenge for them for dying. And that incorporates all the different people, like the insurance company. It's going to have the surgeon, maybe even like a nurse who did something wrong, all of the pieces that were incorporated in this death. And somebody is getting back. Either John Kramer is alive and it was one of his family members who died and he's getting back at them, or the reverse where a family member is trying to get back for his death. Okay. So it's almost the same situation.
All right, Zach,
Yes.
So what do you think? I mean, I know you're against any concept or possibility of remaking the Saw, which is funny because we're on a podcast called Remake This Movie Right, but what what do you think of those options? What sticks out or stands out for you?
I think they're both trash. They need to go. And we
I
just
think you're
re-released the
trash.
original in 4K in cinemas nationwide.
I think
we nailed it.
They did that, I think, a couple of years ago for the 10th anniversary.
They did re-release it, yeah. It was very emotional. It was very emotional for me. I like I don't understand the logistics of the pool. Are they all swimming?
No, they're on the sides of the pool. They're on the sides of the pool, but they're all wearing heavy chains. They're all shackled together. So it's basically, think of it like a triangle. North, east, west, south. And the body's on the south end, but the chain, that's where the chains are actually locked into place. So they've got enough chain to move around a little bit to dive into the pool because the chain goes in that way, but they can't go out without pulling somebody else in. So they can't move away from the pool without pulling someone else into the pool.
Okay, so the pool is full of water, and they're waking up outside of the pool.
Correct. Yep.
Okay. I was imagining them inside of the pool, like a skater park.
Oh, like an empty pool. No.
Yeah.
Completely full pool. It's like an abandoned hotel, just a rundown or maybe even a motel. Holiday Inn. And
I
it's...
think that's a hotel.
It might be a song.
So based on the extent of the franchise, it's not unrealistic to assume he would find an entire motel to use for a trap.
Yeah, and it's probably an old fancy one. I don't know. No, it doesn't have to be like a nice hotel. It's just a dingy,
It needs
crappy,
to be dingy.
It's condemned. Right. It's got water in the pool. Like he filled it with its disgusting water, but it's clear enough that you can see a gun and saws at the bottom of the pool so that somebody can jump in and get it. They have enough chain to do that. But it's very, very, they have to actually help them get out of the pool. Or maybe you would have to have it on the sides. Like each person has a gun and a saw next to them. Because if they jump in the pool, maybe they would drown because the chains are too heavy for somebody to swim in it. That would probably kill my idea.
That would kill all your characters if they went in the
I don't
pool.
think chains are that heavy, right?
Well, it has to be heavy enough that if they try to make it to the end of the pool where the body is, the boy would drown. So maybe it's because he's smaller or he's a little younger that he don't think he can make the swim.
He's like Adam Brody size.
I don't know that
Who
reference.
is that? What?
An
Yeah.
actor.
That
He's
no
a
one
really
knows except you?
Okay.
So he's a skinny, scrawny guy, is basically what we're saying.
So it is like a shared chain. So if one person were to go to the end of the pool, the other two get yanked in.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
The 17-year-old boy's at a real disadvantage.
Yeah, maybe you would think, but he's also, it comes to find out, he's the guy. He's the killer.
coordinated
He
this.
coordinated it.
John Kramer Jr.
Yep.
Well, it works for me, so it works into what I wanted. So it's really just a matter of
So,
if Mr. over there is okay with
Hey,
it.
if he yells cut, he's got to have a better idea.
His
and
honor.
re-releasing isn't the option.
No, yeah. I'm so attached to that bathroom that like, my only idea for remaking it would have been the same movie.
Well, at least
you
you're
could put
open-minded. At least you're
You
open.
make a female-centric cast, switch it up. I hear that's the thing to do.
Okay, so the next concept is you're obviously going to have other traps that either in flashback or as we go through our story to get to our ending, you're going to have to demonstrate what Jigsaw is because you're reintroducing the franchise and the movies to people that haven't seen it before. They don't understand the concept of the Jigsaw killer. What are some of your ideas of traps to put into this environment to flesh out our movie? Because if you're just at the pool, that's not going to go for an hour and a half. So you need to throw in a couple flashbacks and examples of what Jigsaw has done before. So what are some ideas you guys came up with for traps?
So you don't want these to be traps that are being used in the pool situation.
Correct. These would be other, like just reflection as they are piecing together who Jigsaw is and what he has done before and why they are in this situation. You show the examples of past traps that he has done to people.
Well,
So for your present tense narrative, there is no big trap. It's just the pool.
it's a very small concept, just like the original.
Yeah, it's
but he
very-
wants to be able to look back at what else he's done, like flashbacks.
Mm-hmm. I like the more restrained trap of just water.
Yeah, it's just
That's all.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. So what other ideas would you have? What other traps would you have in flashback or for reference in the movie? You got anything? What does your sick mind have as a concept, Zach?
Well, one if we're doing this, and again, I'm sure this will just sound ridiculous, is if so is this a reboot or is this like a quasi sequel that you're doing here?
It's an extension. It's a reboot of the franchise, but it's an
Okay.
extension of the original films.
The mythology kind
Yep.
of thing. Like a soft reboot.
Like a soft reboot, yeah. Same
Yeah, 'cause
idea, same concept, but people are going to see it's enough of a remake to make people think that John Kramer is going to rise, but it goes a different direction that our killer is actually a teenager.
Okay, and you guys might think this is terrible. If we're doing that and you're trying to trick the audience a little bit into thinking that Jigsaw is going to be at the end of the pool like it was in the last movie, one of your flashback traps could be somebody hacking their leg off. So people think that you're kind of calling back to the first movie and like reorganizing the events.
Well, I mean, you've got the callback would already be they have saws. So at the end,
That's
the
it.
woman would cut her leg off.
I mean, he's really into hacksaws this time.
One of them that I really, and it's not a new or inventive idea, but it was one of the best, and I feel like it was one of the deepest traps that they had, like emotionally draws you in, was the one with Amanda where she ended up, being a drug user. She ended up having to go in the pool, if you will, of needles. Mm-hmm. And I feel like those emotional type ones are more appealing to somebody like me than the really gory, just, we're just gonna see how much blood we can shed. Like the second one had so many amazing traps that I would not change. One of them, I believe, wasn't the needles in the second one, Zach?
She got shoved in there.
Yeah, and then there was the girl, and she's familiar. I don't know why I can't remember her name, but she reaches up to get the antidote or whatever.
Antidote thing, yeah.
And she puts her hands through it, and it entirely, it's blades where she puts her arms through into this glass container. And I feel like those types of traps are way more brutal because you just know that there's, like that one, there's no way that she's getting out unless the blades just completely cut off her hands.
So unless there was someone else with her who pushed up the blades so she could slip her hand back out.
But that guy didn't care.
So what new traps do we have?
I have, I don't know if it's going to roll on a non-explicit podcast. It's kind of takes you into a tour of my twisted psyche pretty quickly.
No, let's go. Let's take a tour.
Oh, man. See, now I'm all embarrassed on this podcast. All right, so let's take a rapist kind of character.
Okay.
And so he's got to, because he's caused all this pain and suffering to everyone else, in order to escape the trap, it would somehow involve a bladed sex object entering his rectum in order to push himself back far enough to grab a key or something.
Oh, snap! I like it. It's disgusting, but I like it.
That is
I think it would have to be a lot
brutal.
off screen, obviously.
They just show the sex object with blades on it, and then show a little bum, and then oh boys, here's your key. It's back on this door, but you got to back up to get it.
You're gonna have to shove it. Yeah, and he's kind of like tied into place, so the only way he can back up is to let that object enter him.
Well, you're making my butt hurt. Just hearing about it. But that is the franchise. I mean, I don't think it has to be disgusting and gory. It just has to have a concept of your suffering to live. How much is life worth for you? And you get to feel the pain that you've inflicted on others.
Exactly.
I like it. I really do like it.
I'm glad we're both sick as hell.
Yeah, you're probably going to a special place.
Uh-huh.
If you wanted just like a quick flashback or something, you could do it where it's a very quick trap, where it's not really very, I don't know, thorough with an idea as that one, because I feel like that one would be more time consuming because you're going to be more paranoid about doing it. But what if somebody is in a room and those little fire, like where you would burn a body, what are those things called?
Fireplaces?
Well, no,
crematorium
not
thing.
A furnace?
Where you throw like
I guess a furnace,
you
right?
can put a whole body into it.
A crematorium, yeah.
Yeah, so somebody is in there, but like it's a bigger one where they can stand up. And so they're stuck in there and all of the fire is going, like it turns on at a certain time. It goes on, but all of the room is covered in glass. So for them to get out, they have a very small amount of time and like they have different objects that they have to deal with. So it's not just glass. They have to like not to go through actual hoops, but they have to go through hoops to get to the door to be able to stop it before they actually burn their entire body.
And they would be like an arsonist. So that's their penance.
Like say somebody let their children burn inside the building.
Whoa.
Well, they're
They
like
save themselves instead of their children.
Left their kids in there or whatever, or left their wife or somebody. But that only gives you so much time to get through because the fire is going to start. You're going to be locked in. Like you're not going to be able to move until like, let's say you're chained up.
And you have to go through
and the
shards
chains
of
release.
death.
And you have to go through different things to be able to get to the last switch or whatever that turns all of the fire inside there off.
And you have to crawl through it because it's a smaller area.
Right.
You don't have to stand up. I don't know how many crematoriums can stand up, but you can make it like a room.
Well, I'm sure he could find one, build one.
Yeah, that's true. He probably has one on standby.
If he can get an entire motel for a pool, I'm pretty sure he could find this. Make it happen.
It's a condemned hotel. I mean, it's not open anymore.
It's not a use. No one really stays there.
Exactly. That
Far
happens.
away in the woods, there's no cell reception or something.
It happens.
Amanda, did you weigh in on the rectum of death?
Who isn't for that?
It actually reminds me of one of the scenes in I Spit on Your Grave. So I'm all about it.
I would like a bathroom trap, like as a nod to the original movie. Some kind of trap in a bathroom. By the way, I love that Adam had to fish through a disgusting toilet when he could have just looked in the bowl first, or in the tank first, which is what I would have done.
Right.
The heart was literally on the tank.
I think the idea is Adam is not a smart guy.
Yeah. Well,
pretty consistently a dumb dude.
Yes, I would agree. You got another sadistic trap, Zach?
That one wasn't enough for you?
No, I'm just kind of curious where else your mind can go, because you got this down.
That was my big gun. I was all nervous about bringing that one to the table. Little did I know you're a sick puppy yourself.
I kind of like the idea of playing with, you have two people on a table of some kind, and you have, you know how you talked about the pendulum earlier?
Mm-hmm.
Earth pendulum thingy? The pendulum is swinging. You have two people on a table, and they're both tied. There's a key in the middle. Only one of them can escape in time. You've got a 12-year-old child, but he's a horrible, sadistic bully. Like, he's just a nightmare of a person. He's going to be an awful human being. And then you have an old woman who she killed her husband to get the insurance money or something. So you have these two conflicting, at first glance, if you look at them, you don't know their history. She looks like an old sweet lady. He looks like a little boy, like a young little boy. So you don't know what to do. And then you get a little piece of their history as he explains. And you've got 30 seconds, that's only enough time for one of them to escape. And they basically have to fight for a key to survive. Who wants it more? And so you've got the little old lady fighting a 12-year-old boy on this table before the pendulum gets there.
Bringing kids into it, man.
Yeah, that's why I think it's cool.
And old people.
Kids and old people, the things that aren't ever brought up. And nobody ever wants to dance on those. So that's what I would do.
Tougher subject. That's a cool idea.
I like the concept of shock collars. Like, if you this sounds weird, but like, what if
sounds hot.
What if you have like somebody in the room and they're, I don't know, let's say they're some sort of compulsive liar, but all they're being asked is they're supposed to tell the truth on certain things. Mm-hmm. And so they're only given so many chances. Like, you have 3 strikes and you're out. And
I like that.
So then it shocks them the first time and they're like, oh, this is something so minor. It's not going to do anything to me. It's just shocking me and it hurts. And
but
then
they have to be the truth because they have their family, or their wife is on the other side of the panel. So they have to be completely honest or they will shock themselves.
Like, they're watching them.
Yeah.
Like, it's,
and they know that they're watching them. So it's like, can you admit the truth, or are you willing to die for your lies?
Mm-hmm. But like, what if then that somehow that shock collar ends up blowing up their head when they lie the last time?
Wow.
if you brought in like someone personal for them that they have to lie in front of or something like that, so they have more incentive to not tell the truth right then and there.
Yes. Yeah, like if
Yep.
they did something, let's say they did something extremely brutal, but I'll just give you an example of something not entirely brutal that they would deserve to die for. Let's say that they were cheating on their wife or something.
And
then
they
the
should
wife,
die for that?
I'm saying
Yes.
this is not the
Didn't we already
example that
cover
they
this?
would die for.
Yeah.
But, you know, she ends up having to watch him admit his truth. But it would be for something more brutal than that. So the person that he doesn't want to know about whatever he did behind closed doors is standing in front of him, watching him.
So he's willing to die for it.
How about
to
it's his
conceal it?
wife who he killed the father of to get a big inheritance after he
Ooh.
married her?
And he cheated on her. So he's got like 2 big questions.
There
He
you go.
killed him whilst he was banging a hooker.
He walked in on him banging a hooker, so he killed him.
No, he brought the hooker with to the murder.
Oh, okay.
That,
He's like, we got to finish this out, right?
that one might be extreme, but you could probably piece them together. I like these. I think we've got enough traps for a movie. What do you guys think?
I like
I
him.
really like the kid.
The little boy?
Yeah, the bad kid.
Yeah, I like
You
that
bring
too.
you bring kid into it, and then everyone who's like, well, Jigsaw always picks the bad people. They're really gonna have to question themselves.
Maybe in the next movie we can bring puppies into it.
No, they all deserve to get hit, like a car.
Oh.
You deserve to get hit by a car.
This is obviously a cat person we are talking to. All right, guys. Is there anybody in particular I think we've got a movie. Is there anything you want to add to this movie to make it cooler, more interesting? Anybody?
I like this concept because then you're going to have the 17-year-old carrying on his dad's legacy.
Yeah, for once, Aaron, you have a good idea.
Oh, you son of a bitch. All right. So who should direct this movie? If you're going to reintroduce Saw, who's the guy?
I want Adam Wingard, who directed You're Next and The Guest.
I thought about him.
I'm with Zach.
Okay.
Because I think he would make it intense, scary, and fun.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah,
I thought about him, so I'm cool with it.
The newest Blair Witch movie as well. I haven't seen that, though.
Now,
Let's not talk about that.
are there any character or any actors you want to cast in this?
Absolutely.
For your man, your woman, or your
here we go.
17-year-old boy? Or Jigsaw?
What obscure actor will Amanda bring to the table this week?
Stephen Lang as Jigsaw.
As the dead guy? Well, you'd see him in flashbacks, I suppose.
Mm-hmm. You'd see him in the flashbacks.
You're a big fan of Avatar, is that why?
Yes, that's exactly why. Movie just gets me.
I'm good with that. Stephen Lang's a good pick.
Yeah, I'm not too familiar with Stephen Lang's work, but
Go see Don't Breathe.
as long as he's got a cool voice.
He's got a great voice.
He's got cool everything.
Dylan Bell had a great voice.
Yep.
He's really creepy, too.
Anybody have any ideas for the 17-year-old Jigsaw replacement?
I had someone who wanted to bring into the Saw remake, but I guess she would have to play the girl or the doctor lady.
Okay.
It would be Eliza Taylor from The 100.
Well, you could always make it a 17-year-old girl.
Yeah, I'd be way into a young female apprentice. Absolutely.
And then it's even more shocking because I feel like we're still in a society where people don't see.
Oh, here we go.
They don't see women as, it's more like guys are more.
Well, I sure hope you get equal pay someday. That's what I want.
Me too.
Keep that out of this podcast. We don't need that political crap.
It's not political. I'm on your side right now. I'm saying women are looked at as being too I don't know, too womeny. I don't know.
Gets out of these
but
movies,
men are looked at so much more poorly in those circumstances. Like, oh, it could not possibly be a woman who killed somebody. It must be a man.
I like that.
So that concept of a woman doing it is even more shocking.
So it's his daughter. Boom! We just pulled the wool out from under our own eyes. It's his daughter who's actually the killer.
Yeah,
so,
I'm way into that.
All right. So the person on the north end of the pool is a 17-year-old girl now, not a 17-year-old boy. All right, nostalgic moments. There must be a Saw, obviously.
Your movie's centered around a Saw.
I know. That's a nostalgic moment. You got to have Saws in there. It's there. There needs to be at some point a Robin Hood Men in Tights poster and Lethal Weapon poster somewhere in the background of the scene. Just on principle. There has to be at some point I want to play a game, obviously.
Of course, yeah.
And the big question, do we still have the puppet?
Oh, yeah.
I think so.
You gotta carry your father's legacy forward.
I think also they should still do the carvings of the pieces for the people who don't pass their test, where they carve the jigsaw pieces.
Oh, right. They're missing that essential puzzle piece.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Is using Hello Zepp for the twist, the Hello Zepp song for the twist, would that be a nostalgic moment?
Yes, absolutely.
Well, that needs to be in there.
Okay, we'll do it.
Song's essential to the franchise.
Done. All right, well, I think we got a movie, but before we hear our final pitch, we're going to hear one more clip from the original Saw. It's just screaming. Just kidding, it's a real clip.
Key to that chain is in the bathtub.
He's a very interesting person. His name is John.
Has an inoperable frontal lobe tumor.
I'm sick from the disease eating away at me inside.
Sounds like our friend Jigsaw.
I'm sick of people who don't appreciate their blessings.
Looks like our guy likes to book himself front row seats to his own sick games.
Hello, Mark.
Paul, Amanda, Zep, Dr. Gordon, I want to play a game. Most people are so ungrateful to be alive. But not you. Not anymore. Game over.
Okay, that's it. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go into our final pitch where we hear Wayne Henderson, courtesy of MediaVoiceovers.com. He's a great voice actor if you're ever looking for one. He's going to lay out our parody movie trailer of our upcoming Saw, because if it is Halloween, it must be Saw. Take a listen.
Hello. I want to play a game. Right now, there are 3 people chained to a pool. A man, a woman, and a teenage girl. On the far end lies a dead body which holds the key to their escape. If one of them does not play their role, they will all die. Get ready for another twist that will cut you to the bone. Do you want to play a game? Precautions are in place. The board is set. If it's Halloween, it must be Saw.
Great job, Wayne. Great
Wayne
job.
always coming in strong.
Whoop, whoop, I'm scared.
Wayne scares me. I agree.
Zach did not applaud because he's still mad that they remade Saw. So he's still bitter about it, even though he was
I was
part
quicking
of
my boots from that trailer read. Too good.
Okay, and as promised, now it is time for an interview with Darren Lynn Bousman, who did several of these Saw sequels. He directed several of them. And Darren Lynn came by the Hollywood Outsider actually last year, I think, to talk about a movie, Alleluia, The Devil's Carnival, that he did. And he sat down and talked to us about that, as well as went in depth into the Saw franchise. So I thought that would be a great opportunity to share that with you so you can hear a little bit of the behind the scenes of the Saw movies. Scott Clark, who's also done plenty of remakes, he's been on numerous ones. He was also part of that interview, so you'll hear Scott and myself as we talk to Darren. It's obviously a phone interview, so please take that into account for audio quality. Here you go. Here's our interview with Darren Lynn Bousman from the Hollywood Outsider. So then you ended up doing Saw 2, and of course, like I said, there's several listeners' questions. So, but I have one of my own. Coming into the second movie, I mean, you already have an established universe. How was that for you to inject your own vision into the franchise?
Well, I think it's important to remember and know I had never directed anything before doing Saw 2. I mean, that's wrong. I directed some bad short films and a couple of really bad music videos, but I should not have directed Saw 2. There should have been no reason whatsoever that I should have directed Saw 2. I didn't have an awesome reel. I didn't have any reel, really. I mean, I never let anyone see those short films I did. At the time, I thought they were awesome, but in retrospect, they were terrible. Mm-hmm. So part of what I wanted to do with The Desperate was I wanted to rebrand myself and rebuild myself up. And basically, I wrote what I considered to be the most shocking, hardcore, depressing script ever, realizing that if I wrote bubblegum and I wrote down the middle, it would never be seen. Mm-hmm. So I knew that I had to write something that was so in-your-face shocking that people would laugh at it and give it to their friends, being like, dude, you got to read the script called The Desperate. It's fucking crazy. So that's what I did. And when I wrote it, I thought that I was going to get $200,000 to go off and make this as a short, or as my film. Never in a million years did I think that I was actually going to make Saw 2. So when it was bought as The Desperate. It was never bought as Saw 2. And originally, Twisted Pictures was going to make it as its own movie. At this point, Saw had not come out yet. Saw had just gone to Sundance, and I think it was made for like $800,000. So Twisted Pictures wanted to follow that up with another very small movie. And I had gotten along with the producers and during our meeting, and I convinced them to let me direct this. It wasn't until maybe 2 months after that they actually, Lionsgate said, listen, this movie Saw at Sundance, it's the shit. We're going to have to make a sequel to this immediately, and we need it in 2 months or 3 months. They said, you know what, there's similarities in what Darren wrote to what this is. Let's transfer it to Saw 2. The irony of this whole thing was, to my good fortune, when my lawyer made the deal for The Desperate, she attached me to The Desperate or any variation thereof as director. Well, when they changed The Desperate to Saw 2, I was automatically the director of it. Mm-hmm. So I didn't realize how big Saw was to be. I don't think anyone really did. So they just said to me, Darren, you're directing this as Saw 2 now, not The Desperate. And I got kind of mad originally because I was like, great, I'm going to be a sequel guy. No one's going to see this. And then Saw came out, and Saw was a juggernaut. It was huge. It was huge. Mm-hmm. Then all of a sudden it changed from being upset to being, oh my God, they're going to fire me. I'm too small for this. I'm too small for this. But luckily I wasn't fired, and they kept me on, and it was, I have my career. I have to thank for my career that I have right now.
That's a really interesting story, especially because it's got to be kind of almost bittersweet. I mean, you wrote this script your way, and they obviously had to make some changes to fit it into the Saw universe, correct?
Yeah, there was a page one rewrite. In fact, there's very little similarities that's left from what I originally wrote to what it is now. My original idea was a bunch of people that played a game called the Minus Game, where people that were desperate in their lives basically willingly participated in an event which put them together in a house, and they had to kill each other before the night was over, but willingly. They were never put against their will. And then there was a twist at the very end that the police who are trying to find it, it's the same twist in the movie, the police that were trying to find it realized that what they were watching wasn't live. Spoiler alert for those who haven't seen Saw 2.
What? You ruined it.
But, yeah, that was all that was there. Everything else got added after the fact. The idea of a serial killer, the idea of, individual traps in the room. That was all something that we added after the fact. But originally, it was just people playing a game in a house that was being watched by police to be discovered later it wasn't live.
We got another question from one of our listeners here, Darren. His name is Joshua, and he wants to know how you planned out the Saw, or how planned out the Saw franchise was.
When I was on Saw 2, we were thinking 3 and 4. When I was doing 3, we were doing 4 and 5. And I think that I learned a lot from that about how to create a franchise, because I think that the thing which I think the franchises that work, there's forethought in what you're doing. You're not just thinking about where you are now, you're thinking about where you're going after the fact.
Sure.
So I think we would create threads making the Saw movies. Now, whether we paid those threads off, not necessarily, but we would have character names. Like, we would have a name. We'd have, like, one example, Tobin Bell would say someone's name, and then later on he'd say an occupation of that person. And then we knew, okay, this is a character that we've now created in Saw 2 we can come back to in Saw 3 or 4. So we did, there was a lot of that kind of stuff. That said, I'd be lying if I said that when I made Saw 2 we knew where Saw 4 was going to go. We didn't. But, there was, I will say that the Saw movies were made with a very loving group of producers who were very concerned about jumping the shark. Everyone was concerned about jumping the shark. So it was scrutinized up and down and up and down, up and down. Are we jumping the shark if we do this? So while there wasn't, I don't think, a master plan, there was a lot of thought that went into them all.
Josh Steinman wants to know what your favorite killer trap was from the Saw films. He wants to let you know that Saw 2 is far and away his favorite in the series, and he loves Mother's Day and Repo too. I
think I have 2 traps. I think for simplicity, Saw 2, the needle pit scene, just because it's so simple and it's so, it was not the engineering of the other future traps. There was something just very simplistic about it, and I think, in my opinion, it's the trap in Saw that always has people squirming in their seats when they see it. So I think the needle pit is one of them. I think the other one is the twisty trap. It was called the rack, where the guy got into it and it began to twist him 1 degree until every bone in his body broke.
Yeah.
I think why that one was is because it was a real trap. It really worked to a point of, being a little scary. One of the mandates we set very early on in the Saw universe was everything had to work as we showed it working in the movie. So if the trap did something, the trap actually had to do that. And so we made sure that with the rack, it really twisted people. Well, before we put the actor in it, we had a stunt person get into it, and the gears turned so hard and so fast that, the stunt person had to quickly jump, to pull the trigger and stop it, because it would have broken arms and legs. So then we had to re-tinker with the trap to make it safe for an actor to get into. So I was always shocked and kind of in awe of that trap, because it really was what we show it doing in the movie.
Did you ever put somebody you didn't like from the crew into one of these traps and just threaten them a little bit?
No, but I did do, I posted on this on Facebook last month, and I took it down, being like, that makes me look like an asshole, but I'll tell you because I think it's funny. Angus McFadden and I on Saw 3 did not get along at all. Now, we ended up becoming really good friends, and he ended up doing another movie with me after the fact, but when we first came on, I'm not sure if he was familiar with what the Saw franchise actually was. He probably was told it's a horror film, and it's psychological, and blah, blah, blah. Well, then he realized how kind of gross it was, and one of his early days in it was he had to be in the pig trap scene where the pigs were, blending and pig slop was being thrown on a drowning man. Yeah. So he looks at it and says, the scene was Angus had to run in and save the guy who was drowning. And he looks at it and is like, "You're not going to put pig guts on me, are you?" And obviously in the scene, that's 100% what we were going to do. And it wasn't real pig guts. It was like gelatin and other shit.
Right.
And I said, "Angus, yes, it's in the script. Of course we are." And he's like, "Well, I'm not doing that. That's disgusting." And I was like, "Angus, we have to." And he said, "Can't you shoot it from my back and have someone else do it?" And you could tell he was really uncomfortable about this. And so I said, "Okay, Angus, fine. We won't put it on you." And it was the only way that he would kind of go on with the scene. Well, the second he gets in the trap, immediately I said, "Fuck it, hit him with the pig guts." And so we start rolling camera, and there was a noise before the pig guts came that kind of alerted the actor this was about to happen. You see his horrified reaction turn, his eyes get wide, and he screams, "No!" Well, that was really pig guts hitting him, and it stayed in the movie as that actual moment where he got hit by them, with an actual real reaction of Angus McFadden being furious that he was about to get hit with all of this pig shit.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, he got really mad afterwards, obviously. That was kind of a dick move to do, but
did he get you back?
I apologized profusely, and we became friends after that, but that was another fun one.
Did he get you back?
No. Well, yes and no. He's a prankster on set, but I don't think anything is going to beat or top what I did.
No.
You're probably right there. We do have one more listener question about Saw, and I promise you it's the last one.
No worries.
Siraj Prakash from our group here wants to know, first off, a big fan of Saws 2 and 3, but his question is, when writing and directing a horror thriller like those films, what's your technique like? Are the set pieces driving the story, or are the characters and their motives driving?
It's a good question. And actually, when we made Saw 3 and 4, the traps are the last thing to be thought of or implemented. It's, we actually put holes in the script that says trap to go here. And we didn't know what we were going to do in some instances until a few days or weeks before we actually started filming. So the traps actually were the last thing that came together. I think it was always Tobin Bell first, Jigsaw first, the twist second, and the traps third.
Wow.
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
Is that because of the turnaround? Because they were popping them out like every year for a good time? Is that why?
Yeah, I mean, it became harder and harder to find innovative ways to kill people and without jumping the shark. And so specifically on Saw 4, I remember that when I shot Saw 4, I was really concerned because in the way the schedule was set up, the first 10 days had no violence in it. It was just people talking. And I was terrified that we were just doing people talking. And then eventually, after like day 10 or 11, we started doing the traps. But traps always was the last thing that went into the movies. And also, I think the other reason why is it gave us more time to flesh them out. They weren't just thrown at the screen and hope they worked. We had time to actually pick them apart and say, is this the best version of the trap it can be?
Okay, guys, that is it. We are done. I hope you enjoyed both the interview with Darren Lynn Bousman and the remake of Saw, or extension, or soft reboot. Is that what we call it?
Soft reboot.
Actually, I think that's the industry term now, right?
Sure.
Soft reboot.
It works for me. I'm good with it. That is going to wrap up our show. Remember, Wayne Henderson, MediaVoiceovers.com. It's MediaVoiceovers.com. Is there anything you guys want to plug? Zach, you're working on a project. Do you want to talk about it yet, or is it too early?
Sure, I'll give the name drop. There's going to be a website coming along here shortly called We Love to Game at WeLoveToGame.com. It's a big project for me. Been working on it for a while. And you guys can look forward to it shortly. And I will be sure to plug it every time I'm on this show.
Absolutely.
Well, I look forward to seeing it.
Boom.
Thanks.
We're looking forward to it. Is there anything you want to mention, Amanda?
Well, we recently did an episode of Magnificent 7 on the Hollywood Outsiders, so go check that out. That was a good episode, and any other remake episodes. Always a good time to listen to.
All of them, or just the ones you're on?
Do you want me to answer honestly?
No, we don't. Okay, and you can find me at thehollywoodoutsiders.com. Also, I do a couple of show companion podcasts for Westworld. It's called Beyond Westworld Podcast.com, Beyond Westworld, and also the BlacklistExposed.com, the Blacklist Exposed, where we had an interview with star Megan Boone not too long ago. That's going to do it for this episode. Remember, you can email us your thoughts to remakethismovie.right@gmail.com. Please share the show with your friends on social media, Reddit, Facebook, Twitter, whatever it is. It really, really does help the show. You can follow us on Twitter at Remake Right. We have a group on Facebook, Remake This Movie Right, and also the website, remakethismovieright.com. The credits have rolled on this remake, but be sure to come back for our next one, which we have one more Halloween-ish movie to do. And the next movie you watch, remember that it will get a remake someday, and only you can make it better. Take care.